So markets having their worst day since the pandemic. Spiders down 4%, Hughes down 4.6, and will Powell or Jobs save us from crashing tomorrow? Let's get into the tape here with our daily SPY analysis. Again, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Again, one more week left on the sale, 60% off active trader, 20% off of swing trades here. Although today, pretty much a day for me to take off. We talked about this yesterday. So we had that nice trap in the morning. And I love the comments from you guys here. But, said very clearly I was in cash into the close and hedged long-term port. But in any case, vintage Trump yesterday with the immediate pump. And then, I mean, this is not a normal move here. From Tuesday's close to the open, that's a 1% move. And then a 125 point rally in like what, 2-3 hours, 50 point sell in 90 minutes, and then another 90 minutes, another 100 points, and then 300 point drop in, basically an hour of trading, maybe like 2 hours if you count the hour gap here in the futures. But either way, wild volatility here, and we mostly sat the day off here. Just this tape, I just not really that keen on trading it here today, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Can Powell save it? I mean, of course he can. He could say something that does give us a bounce. I don't think cyclically we're quite near. I think we're getting close. We're getting closer, but I think it's more about time than price here. I hear a lot of calls for 510. Maybe it goes down there. A lot of calls for, we talked about 5,400. Actually, we can, look at that right now. And you can see, going back to the video from this morning, we are holding that. That is LG1 now. It has broken away from that 550 area. So that is now kind of there. Although 550 is starting to gain a little bit again. But I don't expect us to have that much of a rally into the close. I wouldn't rule it out, though. This market is very volatile. Like I was just saying, 300 points here in 2 hours, that doesn't happen very often, especially after a, damn near 200 point move that whole day. But in order for us to get that sell, I think we kind of needed that big rally in order to create the space for that sell. But nonetheless here, wouldn't it be nice if we just kind of got a washout here? It's possible. Tomorrow, it's kind of reminiscent of some of the patterns that I'm looking at here. And if we look at the futures specifically on ES, it would really be nice just to get a third kind of, washout candle into that August low. But, you never know. This market has been very trappy lately, and we could see another bid up, maybe even down to this downsloping trend line, which would kind of, delay this a little bit longer here. But we are hitting the 618 now, finally. We've been talking about the 540 area for a while, and we did hit it very, pretty much right on the money there. You can see the Gamma Boy sitting there as well intraday, and, that's offering a bounce right now. But we'll see what happens tomorrow here. Again, been in cash and just not really that much, not too keen on day trading even that much right now, especially going to jobs at 8:30. Right, there's a lot of risk on both sides here. So market's in obviously a lot of trouble. Bears in complete control. Bulls can wrestle a little bit of intraday control back with a break back above today's high. That could see some squeezing back up to like 56.20. But until then, it's just full bear control. And look at this kind of grind down here. So we are hitting that low of the day there, but not really seeing the full panic, although we are starting to see a little bit of it come in. Stocks here, take a look. Big volume surge intraday. IGV, big volume surge intraday, and that marked the low of the day. So maybe seeing a little bit of forced liquidation come in. We need to see a little bit more of that, I think. But it's definitely getting a little hairy out there. So again, stay safe if you're trading this, because it can get very ugly on both sides. One thing I want to talk about here is volatility. Put sellers will come in at 30. However, that could be dangerous going into next week if they abandon their hedges. And I know that they're going to come in at 30. I can see where dealers are sitting. and it's right there. There's a little bit more of interest at 35, but this is the big level here, so we're probably going to see a program sell there. If we hit that on jobs, that's kind of the secondary risk here. And for bears, I think you want to see this kind of break down like now. If we're going to get sort of a crash leg down to that like 5100, 5200 area, I think you want to see that kind of soon. I don't think too much upsides. For me right now, it's more about time than price. And we'll see. We can have some positive flows coming in next week, pre-OPEX week, around the 9th. If we're not breaking down by then, which I mean, we're breaking down now, but if we're not continuing lower, if we're hanging in there. So it could get choppy. A lot of paths here that could play out. But we are into the 618, still advising some caution here. I did pick up a longer term SPY play though, right around just above 540. And that's something that I can add to plenty. Just it was a very small amount that we put to work here. And, you know, if we go down, I'd have no problem adding more. I mean, we have the 510 area, you know, 520, 525. There's lots of zones in here. If we go back to the 2022 low, you know, yeah, 512 right there is a 382. You got the 100-week moving average. So there's definitely some things that are starting to get attractive, but not ready to deploy a ton of capital right now on a swing trading basis. For day trades, you know, it's been kind of in scalp mode right now, unless we can get really good sweeps of lows. Like, you know, if you guys who are in the room with me, you know I like to look for those bigger sweeps. We kind of had one here today, and it gave you a nice squeeze, but I'm not bidding levels outright. At least not for the most part here when we're going down like this. So anyway, we'll see what we get tomorrow. I mean, it could go either way. And again, even if we rally, that could easily just be a one-day event. So right now, step one for bulls is clearing that 55-65 area. And, you know, you can wrestle some control back and maybe get back to this trend line here. Treacherous environment here, and I don't think we're quite through the end of it. Again, remember, if all sellers come in here and then there's something else that happens, there's not going to be any hedges to stop it. So we could be seeing 35-40 pretty quickly on the VIX. If that happens, you start looking at actually deploying capital. Anyway, QQQ here. I do like this level here too. I mean, if we can get a barf down tomorrow, I think the levels right now on the Qs are a little bit clearer than the spiders, but I like this trend line right here. And again, the weekly 100, if we start getting down into the 445 area, you know, it's definitely getting into a range where we could see a more than, you know, a 2-day bounce, or, you know, it's hard to even call this a bounce here. We need to kind of get a little zigzag, but more than like a 1.5 week bounce, like an actual multi-day, multi-week, more concrete type low here. So we're starting to get into attractive areas, but if you're going to deploy capital, you got to do it slowly here. IWM, another level I do like that we're getting into, and we got to go way back here. Someone pointed this out in the trading room, but nice level going back to 2020. I'd love to see a pierce of that line. So again, we're definitely getting close just to areas that I would be willing to nibble at things, but again, you got to be careful. We can overshoot if we get some margin calling. By the way, dollar yen today absolutely rocked. It is coming off the lows here, but I mean, we don't want to see a carry trade unwind on top of what we have going on right now. The positive here for like the market structurally in a big picture sense, I'm not talking about near-term bull bear stuff, but positively is that TLT is green. If this wasn't green, we would be in way deeper shit than we could even imagine. But it is green, it is working risk off. And that is a huge positive. I don't think anybody wants to see that red with everything else. But right now, anyway, IWM into that, getting close down to that level. Dow here again, sweeping the low. Again, maybe we can get a bounce tomorrow on jobs or Powell. But again, I don't think that means that it's over if that does happen. Again, it's more about time than it is for price for me. If we chop in this range for a while and I see something I like, I'd be willing to jump on. I'm willing to pay up, you know, a couple handles more to make sure that the low is in, than rather try to knife catch in this situation. SMH here is slicing that long-term trend line. I do still like it here. And even if it goes down to the 618 around 192, I think that you got to just buy blood. So right now, excuse me, that's the bigger picture. That's 182, 183 going off of this one here. Yep, there's the 1618 I'm looking at. It could go down there in time, but I do like this trend line slice and that 192 area. So there's your longer term level there on the 2022 low. So around 18, let's say 185. It's possible we could go straight there, but usually those third hits of the trend line work out pretty nicely, even when pierced. In fact, you usually want those to pierce. Anyway, IGV down here again, down 4.7, huge down day, but again, we saw some pretty good volume come off the lows. So maybe a little bit of forced selling there. We'll see where it closes the week. Maybe they save some of these weekly candles. IGV taking a hit, still holding the low of the week though, and that's more than a lot of stocks and a lot of the market can say. Transports. So one day wonder yesterday, a big outside move. Wow, 13.7 on DJT. You got a little pivot. You have some pivots down here around 13.4, but I'm thinking this is probably going to want to test 13,000 at some point here. And again, bear inside bar played out. Remember we talked about never closed above that red. And bam. So a huge dump there. Interest rates, the 2-year is higher. Let me actually look at the yield for you guys because this actually does need to get talked about. 2-year, the Fed now has room. So, I don't know if Powell's going to say anything tomorrow or hint at anything tomorrow, but, and I don't think it'll necessarily matter in the short term. You might get a little algo bid off it, but they've got room now. So that's about 70 basis points away. If this keeps going down, it will force the Fed's hand. I think right now, max downside in the near term is probably like 3.6. Maybe it could go to double bottom, but you got some support down here around 3.6. But this is starting to push lower, and it's pulling away from that Fed funds. Long end still holding up, right? The yield is down just a penny there, or I should say 1 basis point rather. But it did come off the lows here. So we're still seeing that firm long end. It is, it is down. That's a positive, but we need to see it more down, honestly, if it's going to be risk off. But again, this has been kind of the thesis here. They can get the 2-year down, right? But that long end, I mean, they're still issuing $1 trillion, doing all this tariff stuff and doing all this, Doge and all that stuff. If they're still issuing $1 trillion every quarter, is that really making a difference at the end of the day? It might in time, but it's not doing it right now. And if tariffs end up being inflationary, that's your other problem. Anyway, XHB, big slice here. So again, a lot of things coming into some big levels. If this can really slice down to 85, 86, I mean, that is a monster area. Right, you got the 50% fib right here. This has never been back tested. So again, we're just patiently waiting here for some of these levels to hit. But big outside move on XHB, outside move on basically everything here today. VNQ down 3%. Still holding on to that pivot from the 13th. As the market kind of getting a little relief here towards the end of the day, but volatility still staying bid here. XLF down 4.25. So big outside move. This still has, relatively at least has room for higher lows. I'm not saying it will have that, but it still has higher lows structurally. And again, that's a positive that the banks are not in trouble. But in any case, big slice for everything. 200 moving average not that far below. A lower low there would not be good. You could make a case you got head and shoulders there on the XLF. Has not triggered, but it's got the look there. KRE down 9.2%. Huge move. Huge outside move. So we're now coming into probably about 50 bucks. So this is kind of that big shelf. That's where we broke out. That's going to be a big area for KRE. Right, kind of into the 50% fib. Maybe it overshoots down to the 618, but big levels here on a lot of things. KBE, there's your 48 handle. Right in there, 47, 48. And you can see the moving averages coming into play right there on the weekly as well. 100 and 200. XBD here, big outside move, just like everything else. Also, head and shoulder maybe triggering now. So watch that. Again, this has been on borrowed time. We've been saying this forever. This is on borrowed time for a long time. And it went parabolic. Absolutely parabolic. Be careful with these here. Oil, big outside move down, just like everything else. So we hit the 72 target and looks good. It was looking good taking profits there, just shy of 72. But big sell there. We'll see how this, I'm very interested to see how this plays out here with yields. Does that long end start to move back up? And does oil start to inch back up here? But still a lot of shorts in this thing. A lot of volume there. I would just remain neutral on it right now. XLE also got hit here just out of principle. Down 7% on XLE. That is humongous. Not a lot of places to hide here. Energy got hit. There was consumer staples and XLU. Even XLV holding up okay. UNH actually up 4.25. So some traditional staples working out. We had some food stocks like Tyson, Hormel. Like some of these names were pushing higher today. So in that sense, those risk-off names are playing. Not so much energy though. So oil just down too much. So ugly reversal there. XOP taking a hit. OIH, new 52-week lows. Uranium actually, quiet day here. So again, this is why I don't really cover them that much anymore. I know you guys probably hate it, but I'll try to cover them once a week at least. But look at the market and look at what these are doing. And they have no bearing on price here. But yeah, these are trying to hold on to the lows right now. If they can close back above, maybe you can get a little squeeze going. But again, tomorrow's going to hold the key as whether this market can hold up. And then gas here, nat gas, again, this still looks very strong. Again, there's a theory that's been around for a while. It's when gas is down, or excuse me, when tech is down, gas tends to go up. Sometimes that does hold true, and I think the reason for that is there is a perpetual enormous amount of shorts in nat gas, like at all times. And I think those get covered quite a bit when you see this type of hemorrhaging. Look at this, brand new lows here. So hopefully they can just barf this thing out. But yeah, and you can see that on some kind of like junk stocks too. Sometimes when the market's getting pounded, sometimes the junk stocks, heavily shorted, GME, stuff like that, it's down today, but some of those heavily shorted names will rally. And a lot of that has to do with rotation out of to cover, maintenance. Because this is always a crowded short here. But again, weekly chart on nat gas. This is tight here. Looks good. So that range is tightening. Dollar index obviously crushed. It did come way off the lows here. Almost got down to 52-week lows in one day. So no 105 for that. Yeah, I would just say 102.50 right now is your short-term support. It overshot it by a little bit. And then you got the 101 area. This was kind of a shelf that it broke out of. But dramatic moves here. Obviously, we talked about the dollar yen, and everything's shifting around right now. Gold, I warned about this, so it never got to, it got to 290 during after hours, but it never got there during regular hours, so I didn't get a short off on it, but I warned about this. Look at how much off the lows this is. A lot of the time, when you get these big sells in something that everybody wants to short, you'll see a distribution candle, and then you'll get another peak. So don't be surprised if this tries to go up one more time. Case in point right here, case in point right here. It comes back up. So don't be surprised if we see some sort of retrace there. That's why you don't have to, you don't have to front run the whole thing up and then get blown out. Like, you can just wait for this sell and then get in on a retrace. Now you at least have something to work off. If you got heavy volume there, so you can work off of this now. But gold definitely coming in. There's a sign we're starting to see some shifting going on. Gold does typically sell when you see selling like this. Why? Again, margin pressure, maintenance requirements, right? That's why you own gold, right? For a rainy day. You don't own it for yield. You own it for a rainy day. And it's doing its job right now. Silver, on the other hand, not looking like it wants to go to 38. Needs to have a huge rebound by the end of the week. Otherwise, we're going to wipe out the last 3 weeks of trading. We technically haven't done any damage on the weekly. I mean, you still have trend here, and on the monthly, who knows? Maybe it could pop back up, but I'm not willing to rule it out because I've seen silver do some crazy things before. But that is a lot of daily chart damage. That's just a lot. So silver here under a lot of pressure, down almost 8%. Platinum here down 4%. And then palladium here, big outside move again. Didn't like those. And yeah, good. I'm glad I didn't. Copper here down 4.3. So now losing that 20 moving average. See around maybe 4.7, 4.8. It's kind of getting into that. You know, maybe the 50 moving average tomorrow. If we got there in a straight line, maybe that'd be scalpable. We'll have to do some numbers on that. But big outside move there on copper. So now that the tariff news is out of the way, maybe copper just doesn't want to rally anymore. But that was getting a little heavy at the top anyway. Now Bitcoin, this is funny. Bitcoin not doing anything. So if you just looked at Bitcoin today, you'd just say, oh, the market didn't do anything. Should we make anything out of this? Should this be, you let me know in the comments actually, instead of calling me names for no reason. But let me know, does this matter? Is this a sign that Bitcoin is acting as a partial risk off, or is it a precursor to risk on? I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't think there's much to be made out of this right now. I think the rules are a little kind of out the window at the moment, and the only thing that you can really do is wait for a washout. But spiders here taking a hit. Let's see if we can get some. Yeah, 540 still sitting there. There's a little bit of interest growing at 538. So maybe it gets there by end of the day. Again, I don't think it's of much consequence here when you're in this type of a sell, you know, with this much selling pressure. You know, you don't want to rely too much on those negative gamma walls, as they can just push through them and edge lower. But I mean, when you're down as much as you are, first hit usually does get you a bid, which we saw. But again, you got to be careful here. 5,400 SPX might be the actual number that they're going for. Again, going to tomorrow, cash looks really good. That's all I'll say about that. But anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up here again. You guys take care again. Don't forget to come find me on CarnivoreTrades.com. I will see you guys all tomorrow.